9/11 Lies Continue. That's the title. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. I got to tell you this stuff, too. Hey, who's talking to me? Oh, that's right. I got to turn off this Facebook. Otherwise, I'll hear a bling, bling. This is the Stephen D. Kelly Show. My name is Stephen D. Kelly. This is Truth Cat Radio. And it is September 12th, 9/12. That's the day after 9/11. Only it's 2019 and not 2001. 18 years, right? 18 years? 18 years. Let me think of that. 18 years. What is that? That's 4.2 terms, presidential terms. How many presidents have we had in that period of time? Let me think. Bush, Obama, and Trump, right? I think so. So Trump's in there. He takes up almost 4 of those years. Almost. Well, we know Bush did it. And we know Obama's a commie, and he was never going to give us justice, even when Bush was a Republican. So we know that was all bullshit. You should have figured out the political system was bullshit at that point, but you didn't. And now we have Donald Trump, who's supposed to come in there and, oh my God, I'm still hearing people say he's the anointed one. Did I mention we're Truth Cat Radio? That's right. Anyway. Sorry, people, he's not the anointed one. He's not even close to the anointed one. Ugh. Well, what is so special about this particular 9/11, okay, besides it being on a Wednesday and being, I mean, you realize that it's been so long ago that there's a large portion of our population that were children or something at that time, were cognate, not old enough to remember things. And they're adults now. And they're out there making decisions and deciding what happened based on the information that's being drilled into their heads by the people that are paid to do that. And here we are today. I see it so much today, especially my QAnon group. All these Americans with high school educations, they're proud of the high school they graduated from, and they're all spouting their individual opinions on things like what happens when steel is exposed to flame or wind or jet fuel or whatever. These kind of things. Or just really good at making excuses, they pull shit out of their asses. Now, I don't know, I'm beginning to think, the more and more I see this, because of course, our job is to make the people that believe or, don't believe that jet fuel melts steel beams or has ever melted steel beams. We're actually in the minority here in the USA with the people that actually believe the government bullshit that, 100 million tons of steel was melted by, I don't know, 100,000 gallons of kerosene. It's mind-boggling. And yet we still have these high school graduates that say stuff like, well, you got to admit it does weaken it. It does do this. I had a guy, I could tell, I'm just going to share with you some of the remarks. And before I do, I'm going to tell you guys, I've decided that I'm calling these people fuel tards, because anyone that believes that those buildings were brought down by the small amount of fuel contained in the wings of an airliner, it's just, oh my God, you could barely bring down a 1-story building with the fuel inside of the wings of an airliner, but somehow this brought down this ridiculously sturdy steel structure. Anyway, those people are fuel tards. And a lot of people say, well, we don't use that word because that's a derogatory that shames the people of the mentally handicapped demographic. I'm old enough to remember when those people were called mongoloids. And, so certainly I'm sensitive to them. But unfortunately, that four-letter word or pieces of a word is really convenient because it kind of strikes their little psyches. And, you got to admit, fuel tard, that works pretty good, right? In fact, I didn't have anybody complain to me that it was derogatory towards the learning disability types. And I think the reason for that is because I think most of us now are beginning to realize that, you got to be really stupid to believe that bullshit that they keep trying to sell us every damn year around this time. Oh my God, there's still so many of them. Now, greetings, Mexico. You just joined us. I have in Peachtree, Georgia. Hi. There's a lot of things I want to focus on, all revolving around the 9/11 holiday, if you will, or the 9/11 catastrophe, or the 9/11 event, the false flag event that took place on September 11th, 2001. The huge false flag event that took place September 11th, 2001. One of the biggest bonuses that we have going for us that is making this year different than all the years that have preceded the original event, and that is that this year we had the drama involving Jeffrey Epstein and his pedophilia and his Lolita Express and his plane and his Manhattan apartment, and he's screwing all the 12-year-olds or whatever it was he was doing in his little island with its underground tunnels and bunkers and all that. And the most important thing of all is the very fact that it's undeniable that bastard Jeffrey Epstein, who I believe is still alive, is and continues to be a valuable asset of Mossad, Mossad, which is the official external security apparatus for the state of Israel, of which there is no supervision whatsoever beyond the whims of Bibi Netanyahu or whoever controls that position at the time. Now, you've heard the word Mossad before. You've heard us say that, you've heard people say, certainly you said, yeah, Israel did 9/11. Well, let's make it a little more specific. No, Israel did not do 9/11. Mossad did 9/11. You say, oh, no, it was the Saudis and the CIA and the cabal. And people, I'm not going to waste any time trying to explain that it's all the same thing, that all these actors work for the same company. Because basically that's what it is. And even Mossad isn't the entire ball of wax, but it's a major player, and it's one that we're going to focus on because it's a very weak link. And because of Jeffrey Epstein, our ability to destroy Mossad has suddenly been handed to us because of the fact that disgusting operation used innocent children, little girls, and boys probably, to entrap and coerce and extort people in high places, especially people involved in the United States government. So this was a spy operation being run by Mossad, a very, very disgusting spy operation that didn't care how many children were killed or tortured, even cannibalized, in order to carry out their mission. But, you'd think, why would they need to do that? But guess what? Jeffrey Epstein's island, it wasn't just a place where the Mossad used to collect information. It's also a big satanic hangout for all their Masonic nonsense, so that they could go there just like they're going to a Bahama island, but they get to go visit the dank little dungeons and rape a few children underground and play wizards and warlocks underground. Greetings, Philippines. Well, that's what they do. So it's not just, yes, the child abuse and all that is very, very real. But it also works hand in hand with Satanism, satanic rituals. Now, why is that important? Because you're all ready to believe that Mossad was involved, because we know Mossad was involved, especially the fact that Epstein's girlfriend is admittedly Mossad. Her father was Mossad. Nobody's arguing that he's not Mossad, but you know who is Mossad? They're sure arguing. What's wrong with Mossad? Are you an anti-Semite? You're hateful. You're an idiot. Well, I heard. People wonder why I'm being so nasty in the group. Oh, hello. You guys have any idea of how much crap I'm having to put up with from these bastards that are being paid to attack me? Do you guys realize that I take heart in knowing the children of these bastards are being fed? Many jobs are being filled because jobs are being created just to harass me. So isn't that something? At least somebody's getting paid and they get to have a little house over their head and they get to feed their children, get a big screen, and maybe get a pension plan or something. It's all because Uncle Sam or some agency. I don't know what the equivalent of Uncle Sam is over in Israel, but I'm sure they got something. I know they got John Bull in England. The ghost of Golda Meir is smiling down at them. I don't know. But this is the thing. Back to the Mossad. Nobody can argue now that Mossad is a vile, vile organization that uses humans in the most vile ways to achieve their means. Now, when you've been hearing that Mossad did 9/11, but all of a sudden now, because of Jeffrey Epstein, you suddenly woke up and realized, yeah, those Mossad guys are awful. And then you go, wait, that's right. They also did 9/11. Holy shit. 1 and 1 is 2 all of a sudden. Holy crap, you guys, you just connected those dots. Do you know how many people right now are connecting those dots? I'm actually seeing people in my group say things like, whoa. So I've been hearing this Mossad did 9/11 for so long, but I don't understand, because Trump says Israel's a good guy. What's the deal? If they're supposed to be so evil, I don't understand. Well, guys, we talked about that big letdown. Of course, it's not called a big letdown. It's called the Great Disenchantment. You realize that these Mossad guys are an arm of Chabad, which is basically the ancient Pharisees and the Khazar Mafia and all those nasty, evil things, all working together to do horrible, evil things to the rest of the world, namely genocide. And that's not cool. It's not going to ever be cool. And they've been doing it for a real long darn time. It's right in front of your faces. But it's amazing, though, that people are actually waking up to this. Now, I'm going to repeat right now, because it's really important to emphasize this, and that is that there's nothing wrong with Jewish people. For that matter, there's nothing really wrong with Israel, except that it is a fake country that was set up by the Rothschilds to impersonate the original country that called itself Israel, that sat there at one time, to hijack the Jewish identity and the Jewish faith to install a seat for satanic power, which is what Chabad is. It's a infiltration of that group. It's a tiny, tiny sect, tiny, tiny group, a tiny, tiny portion of the overall people who adhere to the Jewish faith or the Hebrew bloodline. They're a tiny little group. It's not all those people. So just because Rothschild and a bunch of evil people set up Israel doesn't make all the people living there evil. Yeah, sure, there's probably a lot of evil people there, but there's evil people everywhere. But this is the thing. That sort of thing happens everywhere, people. Let me see. I don't really. Well, okay. Let me just put it this way. Greetings, New Milford, Connecticut. The ancient Pharisees obviously were genocidal, and the satanic rituals beyond what was practiced in the court of King Solomon were magnified during the 250 years these people spent in Babylon. So all of this Kabbalah and mysticism and Satanism that has been incorporated into their practice. And when I say in their practice, I'm talking about the Pharisees now, not the rest of the Jewish people, but just this tiny little group. They brought that back with them when they were released. And again, I'm repeating myself, but they're not the whole group. The Moloch blood worship, human sacrifice nonsense, that's where it came from, okay? Now, you've all of you that read your Bibles, you've heard terrible things about the Canaanites and the Babylonians and this sort of thing. You've never really heard what's wrong with these people. But this is what it is. These are people basically that are of that Babylonian heritage. And now remember that the people that were captured by those Babylonians that lived there for 250 years, they embraced everything, and were actually given quite a few liberties to continue with their religious practices. And so what's strange is that after 250 years, you would think that a culture would assimilate. It's almost like the black people in the United States, the ones that, their ancestors came here as slaves. That wasn't that long ago. And yet we wouldn't be thinking, I mean, maybe we should, but I wouldn't, I don't think it's the natural thing for people to just assume that these people after 250 years are going to decide, well, we were brought here under duress and now we're going to go back to another country and we're going to commit genocide against the rest of the world and we're going to really hate those people over there in that other country that we spent 250 years in. It's kind of hard to put this into perspective, but another way of looking at it also is that if you look at the culture of the entity that actually rescued them from the Babylonians, it was the Persians. And the very same Persians that rescued those tribes from Babylon also rescued the other half of Israel, the ones that were in the north, from the Assyrians. So to me, you would kind of think that the Persians or the modern Iranians would be heroes. And certainly we know that in Iran, there's a relatively large Hebrew population or large population of people practicing Judaism. I mean, everybody, well, no, I guess you're not supposed to know that, but it's true. It's kind of like there's a large population of Christians in Syria, and yet we're led to believe that they're all these swarthy Muslims. Anyway, I'm getting off track here, but this is the thing. We've got this tool now. The rank and file Fueltard has already accepted that Jeffrey Epstein is a pedophile. Has already accepted that he has a dugout underneath his structures there. And I have to tell you, though, when I thought about it the other day, I realized, well, if I had $1 billion and I had a little island that was getting hit by hurricanes, I think I'd probably want to have a bunker underground, too, for when everything on the surface of the island got wiped out on a particularly bad hurricane. You know, that stuff does happen. I hear all over the Southwest or the Midwest, the people have things they call, what do they call them? Storm shelters or something like that. I mean, kind of the same thing. It's just his was a little deeper, I guess, huh? Right? Huh? That's all it was, right? Well, anyway, point is that you guys all know about that now. And I want to give special thanks to whoever it was Hi, Los Angeles. That brave child, that brave young lady that came forward and got the ball rolling to bring the heat down on Jeffrey Epstein. Because you got to remember, this guy's a billionaire just like Donald Trump, and they're able to afford lots of attorneys and lots of thugs and lots of ability to apply pressure on weak little, girls that they've molested. Well, so in other words, for Jeffrey Epstein to have even been brought down in the first place, it could only have happened by the efforts of enough of these victims that came forward to bear enough pressure, even with all the harsh treatment I'm sure they received, to make this thing stick. Now, the first time it happened, of course, he got away with it, and they let him off with a slap on the hand. But the fact is that even though they let him off with a slap on the hand, you all knew it happened, and you didn't like it, but you let it fester, and you didn't really do anything about it. Now, we put a lot of effort into trying to get this guy put away, and guess what? He did. We had our Jeffrey Epstein petition, and I know you're going to say it didn't do anything, but sure enough, his ass got arrested, and next thing you know, he's being shipped off to Israel or something, and they're saying he's dead. Well, of course they shipped him off to Israel. He's a fucking Mossad. Oh, yeah, before I forget, I'm going to make sure tonight, before I even start talking, well, I'm going to talk about Donald Trump here soon, but I want to read to you, just because I think it's pertinent. I know a lot of you have read it already, but I'm going to read it anyway. The letter that I got from Per Berglund, PhD, Stockholm, Sweden, Stockholm? Yeah, anyway, right? Denmark? I get those mixed up. Copenhagen's Denmark, Stockholm, Sweden. Yeah, I always mix that up. All right. Anyway. But he wrote this nice letter to me that basically shows you without a doubt that there was a nuclear device, in this case, a nuclear pumped laser used on 9/11 twice to take down each of the Twin Towers. And I'm going to read that letter to you. It's a little technical, but we're going to do it. Okay, so I just got to pull it up so I can read it. We're only 26 minutes in, but here's the thing. Again, since we know Jeffrey Epstein is Mossad, and since we know Mossad did 9/11, and since you've all of a sudden figured out that Mossad is bad, suddenly you're angry about Mossad doing the pedophilia thing, and suddenly that anger has transferred to Mossad doing 9/11. So you're ready to wake up and realize, well, you know what? Maybe those Arabs didn't crash into that building, and you guys are starting to wake up. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'd like to see more of you actually do that. But here's the thing. This particular 9/11, Donald Trump got up in front of the world at the Pentagon to commemorate the alleged event that took place there. You know, the big lie that an aircraft full of people crashed into the damn Pentagon. The exact office where they were doing the accounting, looking for the missing $2.3 trillion that Donald Rumsfeld had announced was missing the day before. Boy, I feel sorry for those accountants. Can you imagine the poor little bean counters that were in that office thinking, Mr. Rumsfeld, you really want us to find out where this $2 trillion? Yeah, you get in that office and you lock that door and you don't come out until you find where that money went. Well, that's a rotten thing to do to those poor employees. Almost as rotten as nuking people in New York. Anyway, Donald Trump got up there and he lied. He had the opportunity to tell the truth. Once again, remember, he's been in office now for a few years. He's had a few 9/11s under his belt to get out there and come forward. Now, personally, I think the guy's a pussy. I'll say that here on the radio because I can. If I called him a pussy on Facebook, I'd get a 30-day Facebook jail sentence. You know, you can't call somebody a retard in Facebook without getting 30 days in Facebook jail, and you certainly can't call somebody a pussy. But Donald Trump, you're a retard and a pussy. I'm sorry, you know. And, you know, this is the thing. I know you can't do nothing about it. And all these tards that try to defend you and say, my POTUS wouldn't lie. You know, you wonder why Trump people can get away with saying all these nasty things about Trump. It's funny. You know, he says, oh, that fake news are saying bad things about me. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? You're telling me that a guy with the power, a guy like Trump, is actually able to be ridiculed without people fearing death? Are you kidding me? Jeez. Really? I mean, come on. If Donald Trump's impotent, he can't take out his enemies, it's because he's supposed to be impotent and he's supposed to have enemies. Hell, the greatest trick they pulled off was making you think that Hillary actually had a chance. Oh my God, did you people forget who controls the votes? You're thinking, oh my God, Donald Trump, he won, even though Hillary had everything going for her. Don't you realize that the same people that count the votes are the same people that were going to make you think that Hillary had everything going for her? And you go, oh, look at that. Your hero won. Oh, gee, we lost. Wink, wink. And you're sitting there, yay, the witch is dead. Yay, we're gonna get her killed. We're gonna kill that bitch down, that Obama fucker. We're gonna kill him. Oh, you know what? I want to say this before I forget. Because I've had to deal with so many Mossad fuckers. I have to tell you some of the stories that some of these Mossad Hasbara trolls have been saying. But I just want to say, Mossad, if you're listening, in the words of the, let's see, I want to get the right American here that I want to quote. Oh, there you go. Here's a good one. I'd like to quote one of our great Americans, the Right Honorable Samuel L. Jackson, and as he would say, fuck Mossad. Okay? Mossad, yo, Mossad, fuck off. You guys are so fucking worthless. You're all fucked. Come on, come and get me, you fucking worthless pukes. Can't do shit. Oh my God. Anyway, yes, I'm sorry. Back to work. I wanted to make sure I had the opportunity to say fuck Mossad at least once in this show. Because I know, people used to actually, when I used to talk about Hillary, people go, oh my God, Hillary's going to get you for saying all that stuff. You guys actually, my God, seriously, she's such a petty little hillbilly mafioso compared to these guys. Come on. Somebody pointed out, they said, well, what about the missiles that somebody was trying to fire at the plane that somebody was trying to kill Donald Trump? Well, that's mafia wars, people. That's the little mafia fighting against the big mafia. It's all the same thing. It's just different facets within one big evil organization fighting for power. Anyway, this is the Chabad mafia trying to take over. We should have said that enough times. But the thing is, though, is that once again, as I said, Donald Trump got there in front of the world and lied. Now, what do the Trump fans say about that? Well, let's see. There's not a lot they can't say. They can either say, my POTUS wouldn't lie, and everything he said is the truth, which makes you look stupid. Or you'd say, well, he had to lie about the lie because otherwise the country would implode and you guys would all go out and want to kill the perpetrators. Well, now, hey, isn't that how justice works? It gets inflicted upon the ones that perpetrated the crime. Now, in this case, we had nuclear bombs detonated in the United States that vaporized close to 3,000 Americans 18 years ago. And I'm not here to argue with you. All you people want to talk about thermite and all that, whatever, fine. It doesn't matter. You guys, it doesn't matter what they used to kill those Americans. It really doesn't, because you're just now waking up to the fact that it was Mossad. And you're just now waking up to the fact that just how evil Mossad is. No, it was George Bush. It wasn't Mossad. It was George Bush and them Saudis. Israel had nothing to do with it. Yeah. Anyway, you just, this is why we got to talk about the nuclear stuff, because when you realize just how bad it was, and you think when an enemy does something to you, what they do, and severity of what they do, could be considered normal, or it can be considered overkill and beyond what would be acceptable for a normal human. In other words, atrocities. Okay? In warfare, if one side commits atrocities, then suddenly they lose any moral right to whatever it is that they're using to defend their argument to carry out their battle. Now, we know that this Mossad and the rest of the people that are involved in this sort of thing over there work under the motto of war through deception. Now, that's actually a shortening of the actual Mossad motto. We talked about it last week or a couple of weeks ago when we talked about Mossad. But the bottom line is they make war through deception. Now, for the slow people, deception means lying. They lie. That's what they do. Their warfare is lying. They're really good liar fighters. Okay, you're fighting against liars. What the fuck do you think is going on? Everything you hear is a fucking lie because your enemy, that's what they do. They lie and lie and lie. Now, Donald Trump is Chabad. And, you know, there's people out there who go, my president is not Jewish. He's a born-again Christian. Well, the only thing born again maybe is, well, you were born yesterday if you believe that. But at the very least, officially, if you look into the records and you do your research, you know, you don't have to dig too deep to find out that he officially converted 2 years ago. And he is officially part of the Chabad faith, like his daughter and his son-in-law. Now, never mind that his daddy is Jewish and his daddy's mother's his mother's Jewish and his dad's grandfather and mother are all, you know, I mean, it's all Jewish up the line, you know, come on. His grandfather, Donald Trump's grandfather, ran a whorehouse. You guys, doesn't that make any difference to you at all? I mean, I know you people are, most of you people that listen, you guys, I'm not talking to you, obviously, but you know, all you people that want to come along and say it, this guy's anointed. Yeah, but he found Jesus. I mean, hello. The entire family fortune is predicated on the profits of a whorehouse, which were taken back to New York and put into slum real estate so that he could become a rich slumlord. Okay, come on. The entire family fortune is based on heinous stuff. And then the slumlord went and opened up casinos. Come on. When did that become okay? He still owns the casinos, people. You know, you want to call him anointed, you want to call him the chosen one, all this shit. Okay, well, let's compare him to people that typically get associated with that sort of thing. How about Buddha? Buddha was a prince of a kingdom. He was a prince. He had it all. He was wealthy. But he walked away from it all so that he could become the great leader and teacher that he is remembered as. Jesus was the same way. You think Jesus was in poverty his whole life? Nah, he was a carpenter. They made money back then. That was like manufacturing industry. That was like big money. Come on. Took tools and know-how. Anyway, he wore nice clothes. Point is he walked away from it all. Now, if you're sitting on a golden toilet and you're hiding billions of dollars with a pedophile pretending to be dead in a account somewhere in the Bahamas, and you've joined a cult that is responsible for nothing less than the fall of the Second Temple and the so-called Holocaust. As I mentioned, these people are genocidal, and they have no problem whatsoever killing off as many Jews as they have to so that they can scream bloody murder that, hey, listen to us or else because you killed us. these people, remember, they have no problem killing their own people. All right? And they certainly have no problem killing you. You're an Amalekite. They don't care about you. You're for disposal anyway. You're not even a human. You're like an animal. Your children are for sex and for eating. Your wealth doesn't belong to you. It belongs to them. You're an anti-Semite. Yeah, right. Anyway, so again, if we just take a little look at the things that have become accepted here just in the last few days, because the dots are permanently becoming connected. Donald Trump is Jewish. You're getting used to the idea. Mossad did 9/11. You finally, after 18 years, accepted it. Mossad uses pedophilia for political strategic gains for the country of Israel. Mossad uses the murder of children. You all like to talk about Hillary eating the face off a little child. Well, guess what? That was Mossad. They're the ones that made that film. They're the ones that wanted the film of Hillary eating the face off a little child. They didn't care if the little child had her face eaten. They wanted the film. Well, guess what? It helped you get Donald Trump, didn't it? There's no film of Donald Trump eating children. What? You know what? I'm so over this bullshit coming out of his mouth, especially the fake news thing that so many of you tards like to repeat. Fake news, fake news. You know, I'll give you fake news. Fucking Donald Trump spent good money to make sure that the New York Post and the National Enquirer and these other rags never said anything negative and never stirred up any of this lurid shit that they could have, such as Trump screwing little girls and being named in lawsuits in Manhattan. How could Trump be named in multiple lawsuits right next to Jeffrey Epstein for raping 12-year-olds? And we've got women now, adult women, that said as when they were 12 that this all happened. And they're testifying that Donald Trump did horrible things to them when they were 12 years old, right next to Jeffrey Epstein at the same time. But you're so willing to say that these little girls are full of shit. I try to understand how your brain must work to do that. And I think of like, it must be like a football team and you've got some player on the football team and he raped a child or something. You don't give a damn how many children he raped as long as they get the pennant. I want my team to go to the Super Bowl. You better not give us any justice until after they get the pennant. Now, here's the thing about Donald Trump. If he's a pedophile, if he has money stashed overseas, you know, in secret accounts with Jeffrey Epstein, we know he does. If he is a horrible Chabad mafia chieftain, which he's more than likely seems to be, it's becoming more and more obvious. Well, there's a couple of things you expect. First of all, he's not going to come clean about 9/11. You fools that think that he's either somehow in danger or that the country's going to fall apart if he tells the truth. Well, come on. It's 3 or 4 years later. What do you think? He's got to win a second. People, I mean, I actually heard fools say, well, you know, once he wins that second term, he can come out and say that shit. That's almost like when Obama told the Russians, don't worry, when I win the second term, everything will be easier. Come on, people. I know I'm starting to babble here, but it's just kind of mind-boggling because I shouldn't have to point this out. We have people defending the lies, saying that he had to lie. He had to get up there and lie because timing is everything. Really? Now, there's all sorts of video and audio recording of Donald Trump right after 9/11 testifying in his professional opinion as a builder that building, those twin towers, couldn't have possibly been taken out by a jet. And he said flat out that the amount of explosive used in the original attack, the earlier attack, had devastated many of the steel beams underneath the building in the basement, and yet the building wasn't affected. All right, I'll tell you what, you guys. I'm going to do this right now. I think it's time that I read to you the letter. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick. Oh, I went to the wrong place. We're going to probably take a break here pretty quickly. I just want to remind everybody, if they want to donate anything to the PayPal, it's StephenKelly714@gmail.com. I don't know why I threw that out there, but okay, here we go. Facebook. All right. Oh, I know where I can pull it up. It's in my mail. That's right. I'll just pull it up real quick in my emails. I think I got it sitting right there. All right. I'll actually send it to myself. It might take me a minute to read this thing because it's pretty extensive, and a lot of people feel that it's a little bit over the top with the technical stuff. But you got to remember that I've been working on Star Wars stuff forever, and I'm an old laser guy, so I can understand this stuff. But what's important is when we get to the bottom part where they show without a reasonable doubt that this was perpetrated by Israel, i.e. Mossad. That's what's important. All right, so here we go. And we'll take a break right after I'm done with this. Dear Mr. Kelly, greetings from Stockholm. I am writing to you to convey some comments on your recent video entitled Everything You Wanted to Know About Do, But We're Afraid to Ask, posted on your YouTube channel on November 21. A friend advised me about your video and also gave me your email address in case you're wondering, so here comes the comment. The class of DEWs pumped with nuclear devices is usually referenced or referred to as NDEW, NDEW, or nuclear-directed energy weapons. The first crude NDEWs came about already in the 50s under Project Orion, which explored nuclear explosions to propel spacecraft. These were simply nukes for which the casing had been designed asymmetrically, like a cylinder with thicker walls in the bottom and on the sides, and a thinner wall in the direction in which the plasma beam was directed. One of these casings is sketched in the Wikipedia article on Project Orion if you want to look it up. Also in the 50s, a number of nuclear Roman candles were test-fired, i.e., underground shots in unstemmed shafts. That means open at the top. One example is the low-yield Pascal A shot under Operation Plumb Bob. These shots were also directional. Okay, let me repeat that. They were directional and were followed up with a large number of underground tunnel shots after the partial nuclear test ban treaty came into effect in 1963. Tunnel shots also became the preferred way of testing nuclear pumped lasers under Projects Excalibur and Perseid in the 80s. The nuclear pumped laser, or NPL, is a more sophisticated type of NDEW, developed in the 70s and 80s to supplement or replace Project Orion-type nuclear-shaped charges. As the name suggests, a NPL is simply a massive and very powerful laser, which is pumped by a nuclear device. This could be a repeat use or even continuous use device pumped by a nuclear reactor, or it could be a single-use device pumped by a nuclear explosive or explosion. Because these devices are so powerful, the only possible solution for continuous use would be gas lasers or non-solid But for repeat use devices, solid lasing materials such as garnet could be used combined with a pulsed reactor. The tremendous heat generation sets obvious limits to what can be achieved. For single-use NPLs, however, there is virtually no upper limit to the energy levels, and just about any lasing material could be used. This is so because the whole device, including the nuclear bomb as well as the lasing device, would disintegrate, evaporate upon firing it. The upper limit to energy levels would be set by the amount of energy that the lasing material is capable of absorbing before reaching population inversion and lasing. Now, I could explain that real quick, but basically that just means that the energy has to reach a certain frequency before it becomes a beam. So obviously in a explosion, a nuclear explosion, there would be only a split second during that period of time where lasing would take place before the whole thing would evaporate. Okay, so that is the that's so that if you're going to try to quantify the amount of energy in the laser, it would have to be you'd have to take in consideration not only the power of the device, but how quickly the whole thing was destroyed. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the evidence with respect to 9/11 conclusively proves that NPLs were used to bring down the Twin Towers. However, the devices obviously weren't satellite-borne, space-borne, as Judy Wood has it. Let me repeat that. Judy Wood is full of shit. All right. Now, what they were they were planted in the sumps underneath the service pits at the bottom of the number 50 freight elevator shafts. These are the deepest places in the building. The laser was infrared, using yttrium as a lasing agent. The beams were pointed upwards through the elevator shaft. The nuclear shots that pumped these lasers left a seismographic footprint that closely resembles a nuclear Roman candle. The crux of the matter is that these extremely powerful infrared laser beams transported the lion's share of the detonation energy, totaling about 350 tons of TNT, through the elevator shafts and up to the top parts of the towers, where they heated up the steel to soften it, thus causing the building to crumble from within like into a chute. Thanks to the NPL transporting or projecting the energy in this fashion, the apparent top-down collapse of the building could be brought about by a nuclear detonation in the bedrock underneath the towers. Now, if you haven't seen it, there's a lot of pictures of the bedrock underneath the towers. And there's a big hole there that wasn't there before. And you can see that the stone of the bedrock was molten and melted. Now, if you think jet fuel not only melted all that steel, but also melted the stone beneath that building, you're a special kind of stupid. How do we know this? Well, for one, there's a huge gap between, on the one hand, the energy required, and on the other hand, the potential energy available to crush and pulverize concrete. According to careful calculations by Gregory H. Ulrich, available energy amounts to the equivalent of 115 tons of TNT. However, the amount of energy required to cause the amount of crushing and pulverization observed on 9/11 would amount to 600 tons of TNT, according to F.R. Greening. Both Ulrich and Greening are engineers, and neither is a conspiracy theorist, but both believe the official story. The gap between energy needed, 600 tons, and the energy available, 115 tons, amounts to no less than 485 tons of TNT. This obviously isn't in the conventional ballpark. All right. Mute. That means it's only a nuclear device could do it. Okay? It's not in the conventional ballpark and could only be delivered by a nuclear device. Do you guys understand that? All you people that think that TNT brought down the building, you couldn't have put that much TNT in the building. It had to be a nuclear device to deliver that much explosive force. 600 tons of TNT. Come on. The Israeli art students didn't haul 600 tons into the building and hide it everywhere. What is more? We've got a tremendous thyroid cancer epidemic amongst 9/11 responders. As Samara Solon et al. Noted in their study already in the data for 2001 to 2008, thyroid cancer was 212% higher than expected. Then the standardized index ratio, SIR, was 3.12. Okay, they expected it to be 3.12. They got 212% increase. Okay. Since then, it's gone off the charts, well into the double digits. Thyroid cancer is not only the leading 9/11 cancer in terms of the SIRs, but it is also the signature cancer for nuclear events. The vector is iodine-131, a short-lived fission product which accumulates in the thyroid gland, and those exposed to it irradiates it and causes cancer. And this is what's really important here, people, that you really need to pay attention, because I know so many of you have got thyroid issues. But thyroid cancer is monocausal. That means it's only known environmental, i.e. non-genetic cause. That means the only thing that makes it happen is nuclear fission. That's a bomb going off, okay? That's not a scan. That's not CRT. That's not an X-ray. That's none of that. That's a bomb. That's either Fukushima, 9/11, or all those damn nukes that they've detonated out in the desert. And let me tell you, when they detonated all those nukes out in the desert after all those years, they knew damn well people were getting cancer. They had numbers of how many people they thought it was okay. They thought 160 people with thyroid cancer was acceptable. Who gave them the right to give anybody cancer? Where in the fuck did they sign? Where in the hell did anybody sign an agreement to be given cancer by the government? So this is a short-lived fission product. Short-lived. That means it doesn't just sit there forever, but if you get exposed to it in an early enough stage, it collects in the thyroid gland, you're going to get cancer, period. This alone conclusively proves that nuclear fission took place at the Trade Towers, the Twin Towers site on 9/11. Conclusively. Okay? Conclusively. That alone, right there. Now remember, if it was a spaceborne weapon like quack Dr. Judy likes to say, as it says right here, the lasing medium or the pumping of the lasing medium comes about through a nuclear explosion. Now, if the spaceborne device explodes and the energy is transported via a laser to Earth, the energy being hitting you is the energy of the laser. It's not the nuclear explosion. It's X-rays, okay? You get it? So the point here is that the Roman candle nuke used at 9/11 created a laser, but that laser carried the radiation from the initial nuclear explosion that caused the lasing to take place up with it. If this had happened in space, there would be no radiation. Okay, Dr. Judy? Fuck you and your book. Okay? I don't care about you. Blew it. I gave you many chances to come on the show and talk, but you wouldn't because all you cared about was selling your book, you fucking quack. The NPLs that were used is proved by the correlation patterns observed in the element composition of lower Manhattan dust samples collected by USGS in the weeks following 9/11, the week following 9/11. A correlation matrix on the 40 or so elements published by the USGS quickly reveals a well-defined correlation cluster where R is greater than 0.95 for all correlations involved, including the following 5 elements: uranium, thorium, lithium, beryllium, and yttrium. The reason we've got correlations in the data in the first place is that there wasn't enough time for the dust to homogenize before it settled to the ground. Because of this, we can draw inference from these correlations about the source of the elements involved. For example, barium and strontium are tightly correlated, where R equals 0.99, which indicates that they came from the same source. That common source can be identified as old school computer monitors, the front screens of which contained up to 10% each of barium and strontium. The same principle of high correlations implies same source applies throughout the dust data. Applying it specifically to the nuclear 5 correlation cluster, we've got to ask ourselves this question: what kind of building materials or devices would contain all these 5 elements? Uranium, thorium, lithium, beryllium, and also yttrium. The answer is that there is only one answer. Only a nuclear pumped laser using yttrium as a lasing agent would contain all these 5 elements. This being so, the nuclear 5 correlation cluster conclusively proves the proposition that the towers were brought down by nuclear-powered lasers. In addition to that, the seismograms, or as we like to say, seismographs, clearly show large explosion shocks in concentration in connection to the collapse of the towers. The shocks go on for 7 to 8 seconds, and their energy levels are far higher than what can be achieved with conventional explosives. With such loose coupling, the profiles of the shocks are mixed subaerial-subterranean, exactly as expected for a nuclear Roman candle. This proves that the massive detonations occurred in unstemmed shafts or pits in the bedrock underneath the tower. And again, the energy levels used are simply too high for conventional munitions to have been used. Finally, we can also prove the NPLs were supplied by Israel. Let me repeat that. Finally, we can also prove that the nuclear-powered lasers were supplied by Israel. The declassified 1987 Townley report proves that Israel not only participated in SDI, or the Strategic Defense Initiative, Ronald Reagan's Star Wars, but also was at the leading edge in terms of NPL development. The USGS dust correlations also show the pumping device was a thermonuclear thorium bomb using U-233, alloyed with TH-232, rather than plutonium or U-235 as fissile fuel in the primary. To make a thorium bomb, you need to limit the U-232 contamination of the enriched product, which requires a heavy water reactor like the one Israel has at Dimona. As to the lithium, I've just found out that boron-10 fissions into lithium-7 and helium-4 when bombarded with neutrons. Why is this important? Because so-called clean nukes, technically known as minimum residual radiation, MRR devices, use a boron-10 casing. The rationale being that boron-10 absorbs neutrons and thus prevents them from escaping the casing and causing neutron activation of irradiated materials, a major source of residual radiation. What I had missed out on until now is that the neutron irradiation of boron-10 actually causes fission into two stable fragments, which means it's squeaky clean from the radiation point of view. As an additional bonus, each fission also releases 2.3 MeV of energy. Oh, geez. I have no idea what that is, but which enhances the yield of the device. If you are interested in further discussion and documentation, please let me know, and I'll be happy to correspond and provide you with everything I've got. It's not like this is some big secret, but everything is readily available in its official documentation and other unclassified sources. They've hidden it all in plain sight, except the story of the cabal behind it, of course. Or Mossad, we should say. So it's not like we don't know what happened on 9/11. We can tell in exquisite detail what went down. The only reason people don't get it is their incredulity. The truth is simply too far out for most people to absorb. The perpetrators of 9/11 simply worked beyond the pale of the public's imagination, and that's all it takes. The whole situation is a perfect illustration of Marshall McLuhan's famous quip. Only the small secrets need to be protected. The large ones are kept secret by public incredulity. I said it wrong, I'm sure. Anyway, the reason I pursued 9/11 research is simply that I'd lived there for a good many years, including on 9/11 and 10 years afterwards. So I was there when it went down and then smelled it for a couple of weeks at the office. I've known all along that the official story was a total crock, but I didn't have the time or the energy to research it in depth until after I withdrew to my native Sweden. Once I started working on it, which I did in 2014, it didn't take long to understand what had happened, i.e. that it was nuclear. But I had to spend some time on getting up to speed on nuclear technologies. I've got a fairly solid math stats background. I'm what they call a macro quant. I build computer models of economies, so I could easily wrap my head around what's necessary to understand 9/11. Culling out conclusive evidence from the pile was the hardest part. That took some time. Anyway, best regards, Per Berglund, PhD, Stockholm, Sweden. So I hope you enjoyed that, but I don't know if anybody can argue with this, okay? Because like he said, the data's there. They didn't try to hide it. It's just that they knew you were too stupid to do anything about it. It's just like when Waco happened. They told you that machine gun bullets being fired into the building, killing Americans, was sunlight bouncing off of broken glass because they knew you weren't educated to know that that was impossible. The same thing applies to this. You don't know anything about Star Wars. You don't know anything about X-ray lasers or nuclear-powered laser devices. Hell, you don't even know what a damn laser is. It's just voodoo as far as you're concerned. People still get all, ooh, laser. Well, you know, this is what I did. I've been doing Star Wars stuff since day one. I've been doing lasers since they had lasers. We didn't have this stuff for very long. Anyway, all we can do, the evidence is there now. We know who did it. And like I said, the people that are running that country over there and that they call Israel, they're the bad guys, not the rank and file. All right. I'm not calling for a Holocaust. But damn it, you guys, you need to take out those damn Pharisees once and for all, because this shit has got to stop. I mean, if you don't want a repeat of something that shouldn't have happened the first time, you need to clean your own house. And you need to do it quick. And be welcome back into the brotherhood of man, because otherwise this shit's going to get ugly, and there's only so much we can do to protect you from the wrath of the people. The stupid people are going to wake up and realize what you did to us, what your country did to us. We're not going to stop talking about it. All you Mossad trolls and you Hasbara bastards, you can't stop this. The very fact that you've got to put any effort at all into trying to defend it shows how screwed you are. You can't make Jeffrey Epstein go away. You can't make us forget that Jeffrey Epstein's Mossad, and you certainly can't make us forget that Mossad did 9/11. And when the average human, or especially American human, wakes up and realizes that you used a fucking nuke that was developed with our technology and our money to kill us, you're going to deserve what happens. So the rest of you that don't want the heat that's coming, I recommend you do something about it real quick. Okay? So with that, I'm going to take a break, and then we're going to have callers. Sound like fun? All right. Are we ready to take a break? Yeah, I think we are. All right. I'm going to mute. Have fun. All right. One thing I'm just going to say real quick. If you do send a donation to PayPal, there's a place when you make the donation. It's one of the first things that first windows that pops up. You have to, that's where you click on a button that says whether or not you're actually buying a product or you're sending money to a friend. That's what you want to click. If you write in the comment section, friend or family, that doesn't do anything. Facebook will still take out their cut. So I'm just going to throw that out there because that was a misconception. I know quite a few of you have done that. Obviously, I know why. All right. The number to call in, of course, is 62636. Doc, look what you made me do. 714-598-3125. That is the number that we give out officially. Now, if you have my business card, you'll get other numbers. But no, you don't give that over the air. Jeez. It's like, I mean, I give out my address. I don't care. But the last thing I need is people waking me up when I'm trying to sleep. Ugh. I've already got that. It was just, excuse me, but do you need a new roof? You need some plumbing done? It's like, yeah, I understand that you're dying for work and that everybody's suffering because of the crappy economy, but instead of waking me up, how about letting me occupy the Getty so I can save the world and get everybody stopping from being wage slaves? But no, everybody's so happy to be a damn wage slave that you'll keep on kissing the ass of the very entity that's raping your children and eating them. It's insane. Oh my God. You'll go to war and send your children off to fight for the very same people that are killing you and eating you and thinking that you're nothing but trash. You know, what I don't get is all these people that think they're Christian. They think they're Christian. They're so, I'm a Christian. Mr. Trump's a Christian too. You people, you call yourself Christian. Let me just first say, the word Christian comes from the name Christ. And don't you understand that these people we're talking about revile Christ in the worst possible way? Their books describe Christ being in hell, boiling in a big pot of shit. Now, these are the same people that you're following and allowing to tell you what to do. These are the same people, the same cult that this guy that you think is the anointed one joined 2 years ago. It's public record that he belongs to this cult. I know you guys don't like to read. You claim to be Christian. I know you can't read your own Bible, and you certainly as hell aren't reading any of the Hebrew literature. If you did, you'd know what it says. It says horrible things about Christians, and yet you people are right up there defending this shit. It's like, oh my God. We're going to save Israel for last. I thought you said we're saving Israel for last. Yeah, for last what? After you kill everybody, they're going to be the last one left? What the hell is that? Yeah, we're saving Israel for last, wink, wink. Oh my God, it's right in front of your face. All right, I'm so over the white hats thing. All right, this is what we're going to do. If anybody wants to call in, obviously I'm going to do some editing and all that. But again, the phone number is, well, you know. All right, now I'm not exactly sure what happens, but look, we are able to accept your call here. It used to be that when you called in, I couldn't take you, but Microsoft has seen fit to make it so that I can actually accept your call when you call in now. They've provided me with a button that wasn't there before. So you can just go ahead and let it ring until I bring you in. So if you want to join us, again, it's 714-598-3125. 3125. Yeah, pretty sure I got that right. Okay. To be honest with you guys, the first half of the show, obviously, I think I got the meat out, and I can take advantage of saying hi to the people that are here. I did see Oceanside pop up there. Hey, Oceanside! New Zealand is with us. Ooh, Thailand's here, too. Well, we got Philippines and Thailand. That's interesting. And Australia. I'd say we have a good representation over there on the other side of the Pacific tonight. Interesting. All right, RD, you probably need to get your butt in here. Let's see who else is around. I know there's so many of you out there. Rita, Christy, whatever. If you guys feel up to it, you can come in here. We can have a little powwow about what have you. Richard, are you out there? We have a new mod we brought into the group. I always have it's a great opportunity to try to help them understand what to do and what not to do. All right, here we go. We got RD showing up there. There's RD. It always says, like, whenever I connect a call, it always says missed call. It's like, what the hell, Microsoft? Fix that. Yeah, hey, RD. Go ahead.
Howdy. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Do you always say that when you call in? Can you hear me?
Well, no, it must be my end. Anyway, last man standing. I commented on that a couple days ago. Somebody goes, "Oh, well, Israel for last."
Like a Tontine.
Yeah, because they plan to be the last man standing. Listen, real quick. This letter from this doctor. I mean, as part of that feeling of outpouring, we've got people from every facet coming out. I mean, 5 years to do that work, and the risk, and everything. and it's really encouraging for faith that more of these people that can do this are coming out more and more. And I mean, even the victims that are speaking out, you know, I'm really curious to see how he's going to get out of this corner he's painted himself into.
Trump?
Yeah.
Well, wow. Yeah, he is. You know, what kind of occurred to me today, and that's why I really have to thank the little girls that brought the lawsuit against Epstein, is that they're handing us our victory, pretty much. You really got to give those little girls a lot of credit for what they've done, because if Epstein wasn't there, nothing would have changed. And we certainly, because you know what he represents is a large criminal enterprise for certain, but in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing more than a error on their part, or a thing that they got caught. And again, the only reason why they got caught is because the modus that they used was sexual, and not all the victims died. Well, maybe let me take that back. The little girl that was getting screwed at the hotel in Palm Beach, Trump's property, that I think might have precipitated this entire episode of him having to go to jail at all, probably had nothing to do with Mossad. That was just Epstein getting his rocks off with some hotel person's maid's daughter. But if he hadn't done that, it would have not exposed any of this stuff.
Well, yeah. You remember back, like, I thought everybody kind of got there. I already did. Back when he got arrested the first time and didn't hardly do any jail time and all this, you know, I thought people knew he was Mossad back then. I mean, the MO of what he was doing with the blackmailing, you know, so this isn't a really surprise, but I think, like you said about what he was doing this time around and got arrested, and then they decided to take him back undercover. There's no way he's dead. I mean, they just like, oh, here you go, you can have him back. I mean, it was like he practically handed him to him.
I don't think everybody knew he was Mossad, RD. I think even if they did, it didn't mean anything. It's just like saying people knew Israel did 9/11, and yet it didn't stick in their head in such a way that would actually cause something to happen.
Yeah, well, I'm really picky about being careful to say Israel versus, because like it's not the people,
No,
you know.
it's Mossad. It's not the Israeli people that did. Yeah, it's Mossad, which is
right.
run by Israel.
Like if somebody says, "Well, America," okay, well, yeah, those that lead America, that's a small percentage of the total population, you know.
It's like CIA, exactly. We're not responsible for what the CIA does. We'd like to string them up.
Yeah, but the dots that have been connected this past week, and this guy's letter, I mean, I won't go on about it, but people really need to give some thought to what the individual probably went through doing this and coming. How do you think you feel when you come to that conclusion and you go, holy shit? It's not that you didn't believe it, because I believed it from the get-go. I remember the morning coming in off a night shift, and I actually thought I was watching the Sci-Fi Channel for first few minutes. And I go, bullshit. You know, and you couldn't talk to anybody. Everybody bought it hook, line, and sinker, and you were really out there if you thought otherwise. So, yeah, I'm glad to see that. And
you are really out there. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, I keep telling you, I don't know where I am anymore. Am I here?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just the combination, you know, we've been so numb, and it's just like ISIS. You know, we all know who really created ISIS, and yet it wasn't in our backyard. But the thing about this letter, and this is why I really want to push this hard, is that we could argue all day like stupid children about which weapon Israel used against us and never go get justice. Or we could see conclusively that the weapon that was used was overboard, heinous, atrocity, horribleness. You just don't. We have a protocol here in the United States that if we get nuked by an enemy, we wipe that enemy off the face of the earth. And Israel's a little tiny little target. They ought to be concerned that we might just have to wipe them off the face of the earth. Now, the only way they're going to prevent that, as I've said, is they got to take those damn Pharisees and get rid of them ASAP, yesterday. They need to deal with it quick. Make it go away. Clean their own house so we don't have to, and make the world a better place. And if they don't, it's not our fault.
Yeah, I don't see it ending for them very well, because there's too many people with too much knowledge of, like, this is bullshit, just put it lightly. They're going to come out and just, like I say, I think that is the greater power that got them in there and what they're up to, but they've tripped up somewhere along the line, and it's not going to work. Remember, I don't know, I don't want to get off out there, but, he's got himself painted in the corner. I mean, I got really kind of like encouraged when I saw that December executive order about, the pedophilia in the industry and all that. And as month by month, see, I've been paying all this time. Everybody's talking about what he's doing and what's going on. I'm watching for all the things he hasn't done yet. Like, you put that letter out, you know what's going on, and nobody's in jail yet. Yeah, I see a whole lot of postings of legitimate arrests, of rings here. They're just throwing carrots at you. The fact that you've 11 petitions for the Getty, I remember number 2. I can't remember. I think I missed one and got. And
yeah. He can't say he doesn't see it.
No, you know what? He put the executive order out, and then you showed him this. And how long has it been? And he's talking about, like, oh, well, Israel, that's our friend. Give me a break. There it is right there.
Our friend is eating our children. And, yeah, we're supposed to, that Hillary, she eats, them Trump fans love to think about Hillary eating children, but they don't want to admit that they were doing it in a Mossad compound.
Oh, I can still remember back in 2008 when my dad passed, a career Navy, in the 9/11 thing. He goes, well, your generation has your Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, there you go.
And he goes, only yours is worse with the cover-up. And he would, I could never get details out of him, but he knew what was going on.
There were actual Japanese planes dropping actual Japanese bombs. The only thing that the American did was allowed them to do it.
Yes,
they parked all the boats in one place and said, "Okay, we're going to turn our back now. We don't see your planning."
Yep, I mean there's a lot to that story. I heard it all, but he was pointing out. He goes, he did his sea duty in the mid-50s on what they called this great diplomatic tour when they were schmoozing all the Arabs for their oil, the big Navy flotillas, and he said after 9/11, he goes, look to the Middle East or Israel, probably. He goes, it's not the countries and the people, but, he didn't use the word Mossad, but, he was talking. Remember, I said this before, spooks.
Yeah,
that was back when we just said spooks. You're all spooks. In fact, I'm starting to wonder, you keep saying it, and I say this and that and Q stuff. It's Mossad. Who do you think answers to who there?
Yeah, well, obviously. Well, it's just another part. I mean, it's just all parts of a whole.
Well, yeah, it's all infiltrated. I mean, but this really nails this. This hits the nail so hard.
It's a weak link. Yeah, it's a weak link. It's something that we get to exploit, and it's going to be this is a terminal thing for the enemy.
Oh, yeah. Well, this on top of all the New York's effort to reopen the investigation and all the architects.
Well, architects and engineers, yes, but whenever you have officials trying to say, we're going to reopen an investigation, they did that with Epstein too. Remember, look what we got. It's all bullshit. They go, it's like we're beating on the wall saying, we want to hang these bastards. They go, yeah. Well, let's give them an investigation. And they wait for us to calm down. And then everything slips under the rug.
Right.
So it's like, we're over their investigations. Look, Artie, we're just real quick.
That's not the point I was making.
I want to make a point real quick. The point is that when these people say that the truth is going to destroy the U.S. government, then destroy the U.S. government, because it needs to be destroyed, because the truth is the only thing that matters.
Agreed.
And if they did something that requires lies to be said to hide the fact that they murdered Americans, any entity that murders Americans, any entity that murders humans needs to be eradicated, especially humans amongst themselves. If you're murdering your own kind in your own family, in your own backyard, in your own home, you need to be put down. And these guys got to be put down. That's the bottom line. So Jews of the world, you got your marching orders. Put those guys down.
But it's like this letter here. They're putting out information and videos where people are going, WTF. Yeah, maybe it won't come to anything, but people are watching that stuff. And just like this letter, they're going, shit, you can't argue with that.
They can't argue it. They won't even read it. That's the problem. I've got idiots calling me an idiot. I got fools in my group calling me an idiot. Do you think they'd actually read this stuff? I mean, they're still, I post this. How many times have I posted on the page and I still got people, nanothermite, Dr. Judy Woods says, I mean, come on. How many times do I can't make everybody read it. I can't look, everybody, if you want to live today, you got to read this letter. I can't do that.
That's really the sad part that I've noticed over time now, is that it's like generational and conditioning. People aren't really reading anything anymore.
That's a kind of symptomatic of not having a lot of brains. And then if you try to point out something like, they're very good at being indignant about the facts. And the fact is that they're uneducated. They've been educated by a system designed to make them really ignorant and keep them ignorant and make them think that they're less ignorant than they really are. And yet it's just like defending those slave chains. They're going to defend the quality of that education they got because they don't want to admit that they truly are idiots.
Well, here's the thing with me. It's a closed group. It's kind of like grandma's sewing circle. I don't think I like this. I'll take off. Yeah, cool. I don't go into all their places and argue with them about what they're doing. I'm not interested. I don't go there. I don't like it. I don't go there.
They're trolls, and the great ones are obviously like, even you've seen them, I'm sure, the guys that come in and go, who the hell let this idiot into the group? My own group. I'm like, my God, just, dude, are you that stupid? You don't see the little shield next to my name.
It's like one of the ones you're talking about that have been directed there. There was probably something going on just to come there in the first place, kind of premeditated anyway. I mean, you don't just jump into a room and the first thing you do is that when you don't even know what's going on.
Well, yeah, but we didn't always attack Trump either. We were waiting for him to take out the Getty. There was at one time actual hope that he would actually free the children under the Getty. We really thought that was coming. We had hope.
I remember.
He was training troops. We thought, he's doing it. He's going to be a hero. He's going to be the greatest man that ever lived. And then we find out, what? He's the enemy? Holy crap. And he is. He's worse than the enemy. And it's just, look at what it took for us to find out. But, you got to be really ignorant not to. It's just like knowing that the Getty is the ultimate target. Unless you know that, how are you going to know anything else? We can tell what's bullshit because we know what's really up. But we're busy trying to teach other people about this important stuff, and they sure as hell don't know what's up with everything else.
It just, I don't know what word's attached to this because it's pretty awesome, but it never fails. Over 2 years just involved with the here, let alone before that, the dots just keep connecting back to, okay, you want to nip it in the bud with one fell swoop. That, my dad was always that. He'd never let things get out of hand. Nip it in the bud, go to the source. It always comes back to the Getty. And I'll admit, I wasn't 100%. I'm going, okay, that makes sense. I'm going to go look it up. Hey, read the stuff and come to your own conclusion. It always comes back there. Even if you want to talk about the Queen and her disappearance, you can still. It always comes back there.
Well, here's a good one. Here in California, we just had SB, whatever the fuck, go through.
Oh, yes.
Mandatory vaccinations. care of Gavin Newsom, signed it into law. Now, first of all, as everybody knows, anything that happens in California eventually trickles down to everybody else in the rest of the country. That's just the way it is. They do it that way. So and I'm screaming up and down, get rid of this Gavin Newsom motherfucker because he's got this asshole perv pedo Gordon Getty billionaire behind him. And what do you all do? Nothing. He's like, how do you take out Gavin Newsom? You take out Gordon Getty. But now you've got Gavin Newsom just did this horrible thing. He's going to start poisoning all your children. You're like, oh, he's so horrible. But did you sign a petition? No. And you know what else? It's going to get worse. They're going to have that Gavin Newsom asshole running for president. Don't be surprised when you see him running against one of the Trump family. Oh, and you know that fucking Jared Kushner. Oh my God, is he looking like the damn Antichrist right now? It's horrible. I mean, seriously, it's like prophecy. They say, watch out for the president's son. You think, oh, are they talking about Barron? No, they're talking about Jared. Barron's not a problem. Who knows if Barron's the Antichrist? But no, I think Jared, we got to watch out for Jared.
Yep, but I think if anybody takes the time just to go through like the files and the stuff you've got available everywhere, whether it's in your group or on YouTube, and then go use those for keyword searches and whatnot and stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on to support all this, and just read it. We've talked about it. Why don't people take a minute to read? And there's a serious problem with communication.
Not only do they not read, they will barely look at a YouTube video if it's anything over 5 minutes.
Well,
USS Liberty.
Hey, is that Bob? Has been sitting there all this time.
Yeah. So,
all those guys are practically dead, man. I've been trying to get them on the show, to be honest with you. The Liberty guys, I've been trying. I got pretty close to getting a Liberty guy on the show, but man, it's not going to be long before they're all dead,
Well, Rudy Giuliani, we know, is very close to Trump. Maybe he's keeping his enemies closer. I don't know. When it comes to 9/11, he was the head of basically Building 7. He had this really sophisticated, they just put in all this equipment in the security equipment in Building 7 where Rudy Giuliani had like a suite or something like that. He was like the head of the emergency.
Yeah, he was
because he was mayor.
Yeah,
And now we're talking. I mentioned USS Liberty. I also want to mention, good old Rabbi Dov Zakim, the head of 2.3 trillion.
Hang on, Bob. So let me do this. I want to talk about Rudy Giuliani real quick, and then I want you to talk about Dov Zakheim. Okay?
Sure.
All right. Okay. First of all, just the other day, I saw a meme in the group somebody tried to post, and it was about Chelsea Clinton's husband, Medvinsky. And they were trying to mock them by suggesting that Medvinsky his dad had spent time in jail. He was a convict. I'm thinking, wait a minute. How could you possibly throw stones at that particular, glass house when Jared Kushner's dad spent time was a convict also, and that's where Jared Kushner's all his money came from, was when his dad went to jail. And then to take it one step further, as you say, Rudy Giuliani, his dad was a fucking mobster. He was a heavy. He was like a hitman for the mob, Italian mafia back in the day, and he spent time in Sing Sing. And it's like, nobody talks about that, yet somehow Rudy Giuliani is supposed to be a good guy. But here's the big thing, Bob, and I'm just going to reiterate this. It's not for your benefit, just for the listeners. And that is that when you see all these so-called mob busters in action, what you don't realize is that every one of them works for the Chabad mafia, and the only mobs they're busting are the Italian mafia. So when people try to understand, well, these guys tried to kill this guy, so he must be a good guy. No, it's mafia wars. It's one little mafia fighting a bigger mafia and all these other little mafias. But, that's it. It's so confusing. All right. What else was there before Dov Zakheim?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to be USS Liberty. I want to also tell you about the 9/11 art students. Okay, they had 3
Let's talk about the Liberty first. Do Liberty
the
first.
Liberty, we were attacked. Our ship flew the good old Star Spangled Banner flag, Israel knew it, and Israelis bombed. They bombed them. They wanted to do some kind of false flag and blame maybe the Egyptians.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
you know.
Well, that was
okay, but anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
But Israel still attacked an American ship.
Yeah, and they never paid for it, basically.
And then, like the 9/11 art students, between 3 and 5 a.m., they had full all access, run of the mill of the whole World Trade Center. They were contractors, and the reason why 3 to 5, 3 is when the last of the janitors would leave for the evening, and 5 a.m. was right before the first of the financial dudes would get there in the morning. So they had like a 2-hour window where they could go through, paint the thermite, do what they have to do to prepare. They had to do their own thing.
Well, let me follow up on you. I'm going to stop you right there and follow in. Okay, as we got a caller come in, let me just bring them in here. We talked about the weight of the tonnage of the TNT and all that, so we know they had to have this thing now. But the thermite, this is what the Israeli art students really did do. When you look at the hole in the side of the building that was supposed to represent where the plane hit, that's what they were doing. Right.
That's where they had their office. And they did the gelatin teeth.
They did it exactly. So they actually, what they did is they took down a couple of windows where all these
it look like like an airplane.
They put a scaffolding on the outside of the building, and then during the wee hours in the morning. Yeah, that's right. They took helicopter pictures, and see that's where they called it art because they said, oh well, the helicopter's taking pictures. Right. It's like, oh, it's art. It's guys standing outside the building, but actually nobody would have thought that they were taping thermite to the outside of these beams so that they blow up. Yeah.
Also, like Rebecca Roth, she shows a photograph. She's the one who noticed this from inside of the building, their headquarters, and she noticed that the walls were all covered. It almost sounded like
the box.
Try to get room for sound, but it was actually explosive boxes.
Right. Yeah. Let me
in Minnesota.
It was what it was there was a number, the 3. SB 855, something like that, and what that represented was explosive fuse holders. So it was a particular component that you'd want a lot of, and
remote control,
the whole thing. So they had the room stacked. Most of the walking space had boxes stacked, but of course, obviously the stuff. We know that they didn't have no 400 tons worth of stuff up there, but they had a lot. And they used this to distribute across these various different locations in the towers to cause the holes in the walls to simulate a jet hitting the damn thing.
Right. And then, as far as you're right, you're so smart. Anyways, the Judy Wood book, the one thing I liked about the book more than anything is she showed those cars 1.5 miles away being all junked.
Right.
So it had to be some kind of nuclear weapon.
Right.
And then also, I don't know why nobody wants to ask Mueller, hey, you're the one who asked to confiscate all the TV cameras. Where are they? Let's just see 6 of them. Mm-hmm. Let's just see that commercial plane going in. Because quite frankly, we don't believe it.
Yeah. Well, Mueller is like the very fact. See, that's another part of the Dog and Pony Show thing. You're so focused on this bullshit Trump-Mueller investigation, you completely forget that Mueller was part of the 9/11 cover-up. Just like you forget that Rudy Giuliani was part of the 9/11 cover-up. Mm-hmm. But the one thing they can't cover up is the recording of Trump before he got involved saying that it's a damn explosion.
Bombs.
It said it was bombs. He said that damn thing was taken out by a bomb. He said, no way in hell that was a plane. He said those were bombs. And he completely contradicted the official government story, and now that he's part of the government, what is he doing?
Wait a minute, this is his third 9/11. He had the chance to become the first disclosure president.
Exactly. It's his first 9/11, but the first 9/11 post Epstein. Third 9/11, but the first one post Epstein. That's why everything's different.
Exactly.
So now, and remember, Donald Trump ties to Epstein. They were good buddies. Well, no matter what anyone wants to say, they were good buddies for at least 15 years. And you know damn well if that little 12-year-old Trump and Epstein, why would everybody believe that Epstein was screwing this little girl if she said so, but not Trump if she said he was there doing the same damn thing? Why you only believe how she says?
That's
you know,
the whole thing. And I think they've got videos of him too.
Yeah,
You know,
and
Massad's got that on him. Massad's got that on him.
From 3 former Epstein employees that all corroborate the damn story. There's depositions. 3 damn people went forward and risked their lives to implicate Trump and Epstein in crimes against this little 12-year-old that brought this suit. That's a huge amount of effort from people that really thought they were going to get justice. And where is it? Well, they can rest assured that even though they're not getting justice, they've woken up enough people that this shit's going to catch fire and it's going to burn up Mossad and take out the Chabad, hopefully, and maybe
at least he got
Trump.
He got Bolton out. Come on, that's a small step.
We're
right?
there. What?
We're getting there. We took one step up this mountain. We're getting there. You're right.
Well, you know,
falling down.
We're winning. We're just winning. That's all we do, right? I mean, them saying Epstein was dead, that was a slap in the face. Otherwise, we're still winning. And they do everything they can to deprive us from winning, but ultimately we know we've won. And what was it Sun Tzu says, the art of war, is that a loser figures out how to win after they've started a war, where the winner has already won the war before they even start fighting. And that's what we're doing. We've already got them by the ass. They already can't do anything, so we've already won. It's just a matter of how quickly, at our convenience, we complete the mission. And that's pretty much the way it is, because they know they lose. We know they lose. It's just how much time it takes to get between here and there. That's where it's at.
Well, you said it all tonight.
Look at that. That's it, man. 8:54. We got to get the hell out of here, huh? All right, Bob, quick. Dob Zakheim. Go for it.
Oh, shit. I just saw Booz Allen Hamilton, I believe.
Wait a minute. Wasn't he a rabbi?
This guy, first of all, he was a rabbi. He's an ordained rabbi.
Right? His dad was a rabbi. Right? He was.
No, he's a rabbi.
Okay, he's a rabbi.
Zakheim is a rabbi. He's a senior advisor at the Center for... Okay, first of all, he was in charge of the Pentagon, the comptroller. All the finances go through him. He was the one who Rumsfeld was saying $2.3 trillion are missing because of Zakheim. It's Zakheim's office. So, but, no one does anything to him. He's actually the senior advisor at the Center for Strategic and International Studies and senior fellow at the CNA Corporation. Now, previously, he was senior VP of Booz Allen Hamilton.
That's just pretty ridiculous. He's sure getting a payoff, huh? All right. Did you see Rumsfeld, old man Rumsfeld, tottering up, standing next to George Bush at the 9/11 memorial? Did you see that? Yeah. It's looking pretty bad, huh? But he's still alive, folks. We got to get him.
Well, I wonder where they let him out from, because they got him tucked away somewhere.
They do. All right, listen, we gotta close it up, people. It's okay. We're down to the last 5.
Have a great week. We pray for it all. Pray for peace.
All right.
I'm out.
Bob, talk to you later, okay? Talk to you next week. Adios.
You got it.
Cheers, man.
Good night, and prayers to the guy that gave you that letter from Stockholm, I think.
I know. When I posted that thing the first time, he goes, I see you posted my letter. Okay. Oh, well. Hey, we're all warriors, right?
Yeah, that's right. All right. Prayers all.
Adios, dude. Later. Okay, let me see. Who else have I got here? I've got, who is this? 714? So who's 714? Huh? 714-457-493. Oh, is that me? That doesn't make any sense.
This is Daniel.
Is it you? Hey, you've been here the whole time and haven't said anything, so you only got a minute or less. Say something here.
I love your show, man. I've been listening to you for a year. I love it.
Hey, dude,
keep it up.
You're local, huh? Where do you live?
Yes, Garden Grove.
Garden Grove. All right, right on. Okay, well, dude, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I noticed this guy had joined the QAnon group today. He was from El Monte, and he was living in Covina. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, that guy's right down the street. And when I say from El Monte, I'm thinking he was I'm thinking, uh-oh, you El Monte Trace dude or what? You know, it's like, you know what I mean? You get gangsters. All right, dude. Hey, thanks for joining me, okay?
Thank you for having a great show, man. Keep it up.
Appreciate it. All right, get out of here. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye. Well, I think I got down there. Okay, 615. Who's 615? 615.
Christy?
Christy, you've been here all this time. You haven't said nothing. How you doing?
Well, I waited to call in to about 10, 15 minutes. Well, 10 minutes ago. Y'all were talking. So.
Oh, okay. Well, well, I appreciate it that you joined us. Whoops! I hit the button and oh my God, I'm gonna have feedback now.
You asked me to, so I called in.
Well, of course I did. There, you know, I'm glad you did, but I'm just first of all tell everyone I said hi and the family and all that, and I'll just say one thing before I let you go. It's going to be interesting this Saturday because I've been so harsh on some of these fuel tards this 9/11 that I'm going to go from screw you mode to healing mode. It's going to be a little different. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I'm supporting you 100%.
Well, okay. I know you could appreciate that. All right, Christy, get out of here. Say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Good night.
Bye. Adios. Okay. Anyway, okay, that's it. Well, it's almost dead, I think. Let me see. You know, she's still here. It says she's recording, but I can't tell if she's here or not. I thought she was. Huh, that's weird. All right, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and just finish off tonight and just say that obviously as these events happen, I change the show accordingly. And this message that we are trying to put out tonight, it's kind of hard to put it out in a really inspirational way, like we've been doing, you know, with these wonderful shows that we've been having. But the thing is that when it's something seems like it should be so obvious, and it gets to the point where it's hard to understand what we're doing wrong, why the message isn't getting out there, and you're always trying to relate the information in such a way that it's going to hit home. And this is why sometimes I'll put out memes and I'll say essentially the same thing 3 or 4 times, but I try to light a fire or make a spark or something, give somebody a kick in the ass that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And that's really what we're here for. So I just want to thank all of you, especially all of you that have been working so hard to help me kick ass out there. And I can only hope that you'll continue to do it and you'll inspire your friends and that they will get involved. Also, with the healing business, it's very much, I don't want to call it showing off, but it's meant for the enemy to see. And it's meant to drive fear into the enemy because it's a display of altering reality. And an enemy that can alter reality should be feared, and I need for my enemies to fear me. So a lot of people have accused me of trying to build a brand, but yes, I'm actually trying to take over the world. So if you want to call that building a brand, yeah, I'm sort of like Donald Trump in a way, except I'm not a pompous guy with bad hair or a member of Chabad. But yeah, actually, I would like to have quite a bit more power than they're allowing him to have, because the people I want to take out are the true power brokers beyond the Queen. And I'm just going to remind everybody, if you want to donate, please indicate that it's for a friend or a family and leave us a nice note in the comment section. And when you're listening to this video, please do the same thing. I do read all the comments, so I'd appreciate it if you would say hi at the very least. Say, wow, that was a fun show, or you're an idiot. I don't know. If you do that, I'll just block you. But no, I do enjoy feedback, so please take the time to do it. And with that, I'm going to say good night. I'll see you guys next week. So, good night. God bless. Adios and goodbye.